Please introduce yourself.
So, I'm Adriana Bito. I'm French. I was born and raised in France, but I've got Cameroonian background. And I've been living in between those two cultures, but as per usual success ideas, I became an engineer a bit by accident. I became a continuous improvement engineer. I worked in big companies in different countries, in England, Spain, studied a bit in Turkey as well. By the age of 24, I was working in Cameroon as continuous improvement engineer, basically starting a Kaizen program from scratch. Kaizen is actually a philosophy that is used in companies to just maintain success. It's actually based on Toyota production system and how Toyota has been successful throughout the year. They turned it into a science that basically gives you all the routines and habits of successful industries, and then you implement them in other companies so as they have those routines to make sure they're working toward the right direction. So I was working in Cameroon, and the fact that I was in Cameroon with my French background made me realize actually the link between my own personal experience and the kind of injustices, the kind of world relationship that I've been told about at school and that I could see in the news. And that is why the title of the book is actually From Personal Reflection to Collective Reflection. What we see at a collective level or at a global level is actually tied to what we do at an individual level. And for a world changer like me, I always wanted to change the world. I always had those ideas. I always thought changing the world is about changing everybody. But it really made me realize that no, it starts with yourself. It starts by the reflection on yourself, on the reflection on the effect of this world on you first.
How long have you been in Australia for?
I've been in Australia for 1 year, a bit more than a year now.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about your coming to Australia. What led you to migrate to Australia?
The fact that a traumatic event happened to me in Cameroon that I mentioned in the book, and after this event I went to a point where I just felt like it was time for me to live my life the way I want and kind of live the dreams that I had on my head. And part of them were, like one of the dreams was to just go and live in Australia. I think I also needed to be away from everything I knew, and Australia is quite far. And to finish the visa was easy to get.
All right, well, that's very good. And what led you to the idea of writing the book?
What led me to this idea? The first idea that I had about that book was actually in 2012, when my contract was terminated with the first company I was working with, and I was realizing that my life story was like full of, I don't know, different things. Mm-hmm. But what made me write it like now is the fact that I met this activist, Gary Foley, an Aboriginal activist, and I was trying to explain to him how I truly believe that the engineering skills that I have can actually lead to innovation in terms of social progress. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't understand the link, he didn't know who I was, he didn't know where my ideas were coming from, and they were so broad, there were so many different things. And I was just like, I should write that book and gather all my idea in one document somehow.
Well, that's very good. So, are you kind of looking at some sort of social engineering, so to speak?
Yeah, I never called it this way, but yeah, I'm really looking at this different approach. It's a research approach.
So, is your book designed to kind of offer people a toolkit to make change in their lives and in the society around them, or is it just more about, I suppose, looking at how some of the scientific approaches to excellence project development can be adapted to social and personal life?
It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. The book is something that can be used as a tool book, as in there are like example and kind of, I call them exercise to make a planning, for example, or to make a root cause analysis on something that is going wrong in your life as much as in your company. So you have that kind of tools in the book. But it's also a book that gives, I think, a really accessible introduction to how science works. So it's a book that has multiple facets, and I think depending on the people, it can be used differently.
And who do you see as the people who are likely to benefit the most from your book?
Personally, I would want this book to benefit more to people who are from minorities, but who have a very, very strong heart for profound change in our societies, starting by themselves. People who are ready to change themselves so as we can create a bigger change in our societies, even internationally, try to kind of create a community who's ready to take the challenge and to pay the cost of deeply changing our habits and changing maybe one day the way we are governed and the way most society works.
So I suppose in the context of Australia, we could be talking people like African Australians who come to Australia from different backgrounds, but there's quite a lot of I suppose a high number of people who come with a degree of disadvantage, but who still wants to make a change in their own personal life as well as for people like them. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the idea behind from personal reflection to collective reflection is actually for me to think about myself first, then extend it to my family, then to my community. Every kind of small group that can be called a minority and that can feel not included in some ways.
Certainly. Now, you mentioned earlier that you, from an African background and a French background, put it all together. You've come to Australia about a year ago, so you kind of still have a bit of a fresh perspective on life in Australia. What's your view on the Australian society, especially when it relates to minorities?
I love that question. I arrived in Australia with my French eyes. So with my French eyes, Australia was this land with surfers, the dream, this blonde guy, the land where everybody's nice and everybody's happy. So I kind of arrived like this. And now after developing my what I call my activist self, I see it with my Cameroonian eyes, with my black eyes, like this land who once belonged to Aboriginal people, who now are apparently the highest death in custody rate in the world. So now I see actually Australia like one of those countries that actually remind us of our past and of our history. If I wasn't living here, I would not know what's happening. I mean, I would just be thinking, as I learned at school in France, that Aboriginal are people living happily in the forest and that's it, whereas it's not.
Okay, well, I hear the activist a little bit talking there. There's the engineer and there's the activist, and it's a bit of both.
Cohabiting one person, yeah.
Yes.
In engineering, what we learn in terms of problem solving is whatever you want to solve, you need to have the most unbiased view on the situation. As unbiased as it can be, you need to start with having the most data possible and really just be honest about the situation, what is going wrong and what is going well as well. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now. It's actually gather people who are ready to face reality, even if it asks them to challenge themselves as well. I'm an activist. I think we live in a world of power. I think there are some oppressed people and some oppressors. But I also believe that as an oppressed person, I also need to look at what I'm not doing right so as I can progress and improve myself, because I can't expect my oppressors to do the work for me. Be really able to look at ourselves in the mirror and not wait for external tools, external people, external habits, for all those things that have been ingrained in our mind. This is part of colonialization, for all those things to actually come and help us. What I call an oppressor is a system. Of course, the system is maintained by people, but I don't even blame those people for that. I really think we have systems that actually perpetrate the existence of oppressed people and oppressors. For me, it's really looking at stuff at a systemic way and not being blaming individuals for things.
All right, well, that's quite well explained. What are a few things that you can tell people that they will find in the book that will help them change both themselves and the society? If you can mention a few.
So, firstly, I would say definitely the exercise. I mean, there is this part where I kind of make a pause in my thoughts, and I just look at my planning in 1 week, and I'm like, okay, this is what I've been doing in reality. If I write it on a table, that's what it would be, versus how I feel about the week. So it's an exercise that shows people that sometimes it's important to just take a pen and a paper and write what's happening, to do self-observation. This is something I used to say to the workers when I was working, because a lot of them didn't want to write, because people feel like taking a paper is like meaning, oh, I'm weak and I can't remember. No, we're human. You don't remember everything. That's why we invented all those recording devices. So that kind of simple exercise that I actually present in the book, for a person who has the patience and the will to make that effort, that can make a difference. It seems like a simple tool, but that can really make a difference. And to finish, I would also say just this call for creativity, this call for personal experience, celebration. Just saying to each person who's reading this book, whatever you've learned in your life, whether you had a diploma or not, whether you've been successful in the usual way or not, what you have lived is worth spreading, is worth sharing, because it is adding your own stone to the humanity puzzle, and we need that if we want to be united and if we want to do something together and grow.
All right. What's your last message to our audiences about your book and everything else surrounding it?
My last message would be that I personally had the method for success pretty much my entire life, but I never had a dream. And today, I think that a lot of people have a dream and probably don't have the method. So if they do have a dream and want to try different things to maybe get closer to it, they should definitely come and discover this book, which is, I think, very different from what they used to, but definitely worth like getting and learning from, and also teaching me stuff by giving me feedback after that, because I'm definitely available. It's an intimate product. It's not a marketing product. It's a book that I want to share with people that can then come back to me and benefit from the Honesty coaching program.
All right. Well, that's very good. We'll be happy, I suppose, to have further conversations with you regarding some of the things that you have put in the book, to see if that, I suppose, may add value to the community overall and our audiences. So we thank you very much for your time right now. For people who may not have time to come to the launch, how can they get a copy of the book if they want it?
I'll make it available throughout Facebook, but most probably I would also start doing workshops, actually, because I really want the book to be linked with the coaching program. So I've been thinking of organizing workshops. So whatever would happen, it's going to be on the Facebook page where all the updates are. And the Facebook page is called Honesty, so in capital H space O space N space E space S space T space Y. It's not easy to spell, but it's important to remember that we need to break down things and look through them. That's why it's written this way.
Adriana, thank you very much for your time to Africa Media Australia. We wish you good luck with the launch of the book, and we hope it will attract sufficient interest in the community, and that you'll be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve through the book and beyond it, in your endeavor to bring some positive changes to the society.
Thank you very much. I hope so too.